Everyday products.
So recently on a trip back to the United States, I couldn't help but notice how different consumerism is between the USA and Europe. In grocery stores in the US, it's like you're constantly bombarded by all these single brands for everything. It's just crazy how many options you have for everything, and it seems like everyone and their cousin has made some product, pitched it to Shark Tank, and now you're being sold a bottle of water for $7 that has some type of vitamin in it you apparently can't live without. Even though
See, but honestly, my friends, this argument I don't understand. And I see other Americans bringing this argument sometimes when they compare to Europe in a bad way. Like, in America, we have a lot of options. How is that bad? Oh, because I cannot choose. I mean, self-responsibility, do your own research before you choose something. But having a lot of options, in my mind, will always be better than have fewer options. Europe versus USA. Actual everyday life differences. My friends, I'm super excited for this one. This gentleman, from what I understand, is actually living in Portugal. He's from America. So super curious to see his perspective on this one. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video description and split.
Ever wondered what the real day-to-day differences between living in Europe and the USA are?
Actually, yeah.
Well, today, we're diving into a fun, lighthearted, head-to-head comparison of the two. And maybe, I might even get a smile out of you. But first, quick question. Which do you think is better to live in? Drop.
Ooh, this is a great question because I honestly think America and Europe are maybe the two best places in the world to live. I know certain Asian countries are also pretty amazing, but I think it's a bit different. You know, I think life is a bit more relaxing here in Europe. Americans are a bit more competitive, and I think you guys also understand what I'm trying to say. The work mentality is quite strong in America, from what I've been reacting, and that's probably the reason you guys are number one. But which one is better to live? It depends, honestly. If you want more and more, I think America is the place to go. If you just want to relax a bit more, maybe Europe. But difficult one. For my personality, I think I like America a bit more.
Your thoughts.
But don't confund one thing. Of course, I love my country, and this is where I want to live because I was born here. But if I could, putting that out, forgetting everything right now, trying to just choose Europe between America without any connection to my country, I probably would go for America.
In the comments below. This is some guy named Dave in Portugal, an American who has traveled to over 20 countries in Europe, and I've made many videos comparing cost of living, healthcare, work-life balance, and similar topics. Okay. This is not that. Today we're going to dive into a territory where few go. This is just a silly video for entertainment comparing the everyday life, day-to-day things that you will have to deal with living in Europe or the United States. And if this video offends you, get a life and maybe go take up a new hobby like gardening.
Okay.
Anyway, without further fluffy duff, let's get right into the showdown, shall we?
Ladies and gentlemen, plug in.
Okay, this one I'm aware, but since I'm going to America this year, I have to find some type of adapter, you know what I mean, for the electronics I'm gonna bring. So this is actually a problem for me, but it should be an easy one to fix.
Enthusiasts of all ages.
We're diving into the electrifying debate that has been shocking the world for decades. Are electrical sockets better in the USA or Europe? Let's get
Ooh, I actually don't know that. I thought was basically just the connection that was different. But maybe one is better than the other.
Charged up. First, we have the good old US of A. The infamous Type A and B plug. The Type A is one of the oldest electrical plug designs still in use today. It was absolutely electrifying when it was invented in 1904 by Harvey Hubble. It was widely adopted in the Americas and Japan. And now, meet the improved Type C or Euro plug that is the most widely used electrical plug in the world. With its round sockets and robust design, European plugs say, "Oui, I'm sophisticated, even if they're German." European sockets run on 230 volts. Meanwhile, America's 120 volts say, "Slow and steady wins the race, eventually."
Okay, see, but this is interesting, my friends. I had no idea about the differences. I thought it was just the connection. I assume right now changing all of this will take decades and decades. But I mean, not a big off deal at the end of the day, right? Actually, I have a fun story. The first time I bought something online, electronic, came with that connection. And I thought I was scammed, because I was like, what the hell is this? This is not working. And then I realized that it was just a different connection.
120 volts say, "Slow and steady wins the race, eventually." But to be honest, after living in Europe for 3 years, I'm going to have to say that I prefer the European plug to the USA one. If you have a heavy charging block like the Apple ones for your laptop, it can easily just fall out of the wall. And the European one just feels so much more stable. I'm gonna have to give this one to Europe.
Here I probably agree, my friends, because every time I see those that connection feels very unstable. The ones we have, they are quite amazing. Drying your clothes.
Next, we gather around for the ultimate showdown you didn't know you needed. American dryers versus European clotheslines? Let's tumble into it. First up, the American dryer. The land of supersized everything, fridges, coffee cups, egos, and yes, the turbocharged tumble dryer. Need your clothes bone dry in 30 minutes flat? Boom! These bad boys could double as a jet engine. Nothing beats the feeling of fresh, hot laundry. It's like a warm hug from your favorite blanket. Plus, who's got time to wait? Americans are too busy chasing dreams, watching Netflix, or Googling how to fix a clogged lint trap.
What the hell?
And now we jet across the Atlantic to Europe, where dryers, well, they're more of a suggestion. Why use electricity when you've got the good old-fashioned sunshine? That's right, air.
Okay, here is correct. A lot of people, I feel like, don't have a dryer, but I have one, for example. So I guess I'm an exception. The reason I bought one, let's go back a bit. The reason I bought one is quite simple. Because of my baby, in the winter, it was really difficult to get his clothes dried, and I had to buy that. And me and my wife have been using that quite a lot. It's a pretty good machine, and it wasn't even that expensive, to be fair. Of course, it's not a crazy brand, but it's really good. And here, I will be shocked if he says the European way is better. I don't think it is. Probably the best way is to mix both. When there is a lot of sun outside, okay, that's a thing. But in the winter, sometimes it's difficult.
Now we jet across the Atlantic to Europe, where dryers, well, they're more of a suggestion. Why use electricity when you've got the good old-fashioned sunshine? That's right, air drying is the OG eco-friendly hack. In Europe, drying your clothes isn't just a chore, it's a lifestyle. If you care about the environment, your energy bill, and your clothes not shrinking to doll-sized versions of themselves, air drying is a great way to do it, and I do it a lot here in Europe. But beware, should you stumble upon a European dryer, prepare for the slowest spin of your life. Dryers in Europe take an incredible amount of time to dry your clothes, like 3 hours. So
Okay, this is true. When he said 30 minutes, I thought he was joking, actually. But maybe in America this is possible.
drying your clothes.
So here is at least 2-3 hours, yeah. If you want to do a program.
Amount of time to dry your clothes, like 3 hours. So air drying your clothes outside is the preferred option in Europe. But here's the kicker, literally. Americans might love their dryers, but their electricity bills love them even more. Europeans, on the other hand, are busy saving money and Mother Earth, one drying rack at a time.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think a lot of people that air dry their clothes are trying to save energy, are trying to save Mother Earth. I think a lot of times it's because they don't have space in their home to have a dryer machine, or the dryer machine is too expensive, or maintaining the dryer machine will be crazy because electricity can go really, really high. So I disagree here. I think he's missing a bit of a point. I have to be honest.
So which is better, the power and speed of the American dryer or the
American way.
eco-friendly charm of the European breeze?
American
It
way.
all boils down to your priorities, instant results or zen-like patience. As much as I love the soothing
No, specific because if you put your clothes outside, the sun destroys the color. You know what I mean? So
meditation of drying my clothes outside, Europe in the winter is probably the worst place to dry your clothes outside. And having a good dryer is just so convenient, even here in Southern Europe in a place like Portugal. So this one for me is going to go to the USA.
nah, this one, sorry, it was not even close.
All right,
Light
folks,
switches.
next we're tackling the real cultural divide, light switches. Forget politics, forget food, this is what truly separates us. Welcome to Europe, where light switches are chic, square, and flush with the wall. Press up for off and
I have one of those right there.
down for on. Sophisticated, elegant. And here's the good old US of A. Our switches, it's like a little thing that goes up and down.
like a
Are you just
finger.
happy to see me, or is your light on? But in a lot of places in Europe, especially Southern Europe, the light switch is outside
So mine is exactly like that. Maybe that's in my home actually. No, but for real, that's exactly what I have right there. Is two switches.
of the bathroom. To be in the bathroom or outside of the bathroom? That is the question. Now there's a logical reason for this, as before fault circuit interrupters were invented to prevent electrocution, it was mandatory for the light switches to be on the outside of the bathroom. However, this has changed in most parts of Europe, and it makes sense because it's no fun to be in the shower and have your siblings turn the lights off on you as a prank.
Mine's are outside.
But in my opinion, where the US wins is the dimmer. Light dimmers aren't as common in Europe, and that's unfortunate when it's time to turn on the slow jams and dim down the lights.
What's that? Door locks.
And we can't talk about safety without talking about door locks. In Europe, locking your door is like solving an escape room. You've got to lift the handle, twist the key, say a magic spell, and perform a little waltz before it's secure. Meanwhile, in the US, click, and that's it. A toddler could lock it or unlock it, which is slightly concerning. I've noticed that Europeans are always accidentally locking themselves out of their house, seemingly
Yeah, this happened to me a couple of times already.
more on average than in the US. And that's because a lot of doors lock automatically when you close the door. In Europe, I'm convinced your locksmith has a degree in engineering. It's like, this lock has been passed down for generations, crafted by medieval blacksmiths. Meanwhile, in the US, it's like, hey, close enough. If someone really wants in, they'll just kick the door in anyway. So in Europe, your door is like Fort Knox, and in the US, it's more like Fort Cardboard. To be honest, I think this one is a stalemate because there are pros and cons to each locks in Europe and the USA. Stalemate!
But don't you guys also have great locks? I mean, if you pay well, you know what I mean? I think this depends a lot in the budget of the person. If you go to someone really rich in America, they have an amazing door, very, very well protected, if you know what I mean, right? And it's the same here. I mean, if you see poor people, sometimes their lock is really bad. You know, the door does not protect anything. And rich people, completely different. Everyday products.
So recently on a trip back to the United States, I couldn't help but notice how different consumerism is between the USA and Europe. In grocery stores in the US, it's like you're constantly bombarded by all these single brands for everything. It's just crazy how many options you have for everything, and it seems like everyone and their cousin has made some product, pitched it to Shark Tank, and now you're being sold a bottle of water for $7 that has some type of vitamin in it you apparently can't live without. Even though
See, but honestly, my friends, this argument I don't understand. And I see other Americans bringing this argument sometimes when they compare to Europe in a bad way. Like, in America, we have a lot of options. How is that bad? Oh, because I cannot choose. I mean, self-responsibility, do your own research before you choose something. But having a lot of options, in my mind, will always be better than have fewer options. I mean, my friends, am I crazy? Because I'm not saying, I'm not even sure if this is his argument will end, to be fair, but seems like he's going into that direction. But don't you guys agree with me? I mean, I don't know, my friends. I like the American way. Leave a like if you agree.
For $7 that has some type of vitamin in it you apparently can't live without, even though everyone has been just fine without it up until this point. But let's face it, the United States goes way overboard when it comes to health trends and getting you to buy products you probably don't really need. In Europe, this isn't so much the case. You can find everything you need, but there are far less brands in your face everywhere. You can find the high quality raw materials, and shopping is just much more simple. Without a doubt, Europe has much higher quality food for less than the United States. But what I will say is that the United States has much higher quality standards for other things. For instance, Leroy Merlin, or Leroy Merlin, a hardware store which is all over Europe, doesn't even hold a candle when it comes to Home Depot in the United States.
Okay, I have that store very close to me, Leroy Merlin.
In my opinion. Most of the stuff I've purchased from Leroy Merlin is very cheap, expensive, and honestly not worth it. That's not to say there aren't high quality products in Europe, but you're better off to get high quality stuff directly from the manufacturer. I'm gonna give this one to Europe because I prefer to buy more important things like healthy food at an affordable price versus Whole Foods in the United States, aka Whole Paycheck, where health stores have become one of the greediest and biggest scams in the US in my opinion.
Here I disagree a lot. I never went to America, but from what I see, frankly, I think America wins this one by a large margin.
Europe, you get this one.
Toilets.
Now let's talk about some important business. What's more universal, right? In the US, toilets are like swimming pools for your business. There's so much water in there, you'd expect a lifeguard to show up. And sometimes, if you're not careful, it can splash back up at you like a cannonball. Meanwhile, in Europe, it's all about efficiency. You've got these sleek, low water bowls that scream, "We're here to do the job, not host a pool party." And then there's the button dilemma. One button for a light flush, another for a heavy flush. In America,
Ooh, I just have one. So I did not even know that Sam have two actually.
it's one handle, one job. In Europe, you suddenly have to make an ethical decision about how much water your actions truly deserve. Now, the reason I'm going to give this to Europe is because a lot of European countries have a secret weapon, and that's the bidet. Now, I hope you had as
That's the best thing ever.
much fun as I
Google
did
it.
because this was just a blast. This video is in no way saying that the United States or Europe is better. It's just me trying to have some good, clean fun and hopefully make you smile.
Thank you,
If you
my
like
friend.
this video and you want to see more videos about living in Europe, subscribe to my channel. I will be posting videos like this every single week for your viewing pleasure. Remember, this is some guy named Dave in Portugal, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Yo, Dave, if you ever saw my reaction, send me an email or something. I would love to talk to you. So, my friends, here let's do a quick recap of this. Is this one I tend to agree. Europeans do it better. It's just more modern. You know, this is no competition. Let's all be real, my friends. Don't pretend you guys do it better. Now, what was the next thing? Oh, the dryer thing. Here it's not competitive. Americans do it much better. The machines you guys have there they seem like also pretty amazing compared with the ones we have here. Like I said, I have a machine like this, but it takes 2-3 hours. Seems like you guys can dry things quite more fast. The other thing was what? Was the switches. This one I honestly don't think is that relevant. They both do the same job. Then we talk about the locks, right? I think this is more about your money than anything else. This one I thought America does it better. I think maybe this is the one I disagree with him the most because I really find this argument weak that having a lot of options, because having a lot of options becoming a bad thing relies on the idea that we are not we don't have self-responsibility. And I think that's a really bad path to go, because that way you will excuse a lot of things in the future. And the last one was the toilets. Again, I don't think it's super relevant, but maybe I go with Europe. I also find it a bit weird that there is a lot of water inside of the Americans ones. But I don't know. I thought this was competitive. I mean, at the end of the day, America and Europe are two of the best places to live, if you really think about. So, should not be shocking. But yeah, thank you so much. See you guys in the next one. Bye, my friends.